Hello, and welcome to episode 41 of the Customer and the Service. This is Sean Piotrowski at the most unflattering camera angle in the history of live video broadcasts. With me, as always, is my co-host, John Lemazny. How you doing, John?
Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a little bit since our last episode, but not as long as the last break that we took. It's probably been what, like a month and a half?
Yeah, I would say a month and a half, probably.
All right, that's fine. I'm all right with that. Uh, Tonight we're going to be talking about. If you remember, at the close of the last episode we did, I made a request to you saying I wanted to speak about home automation because it was something that I had been starting to dabble in. I'm trying to remember when. So I guess back in January of this year, I started to get involved with home automation. Now, do you have any experience with home automation, John? Is it something you're exploring as well, or what? What's your relationship with it right now?
Exploring is a good word for it. I'm very interested in the concept. I think that the Internet of Things is maybe the most exciting development that we will see in the next 5 years. And certainly related to Internet of Things is home automation, because if everything in your home, every object that you have has RFID or Wi-Fi or the ability to send data, then you can do interesting things with it that we haven't been able to do up until now. So I've researched it quite a bit. I know a lot about it conceptually. I do not have home automation set up at home.
Okay. So I do have home automation set up in my home right now. I've been paying attention to home automation for some time. A close friend of mine by the name of Shane Pajak, who's been a friend of mine since the 7th grade. He kind of took the plunge before I did. He was doing something with, I believe, Logitech and a combination of Logitech technologies with Philips Hue technology, which is more of like home lighting kind of automation and color customization and stuff like that. So I knew he was having some experience with that platform, and he was pretty happy with it. But the two platforms I kind of had my eye on, like I did a lot of research on my own, and I felt that there were two platforms which were really worth exploring. And one was Insteon, and the other one was Wink. Insteon came kind of on my radar because it was the only home automation platform that was supported by, supported through Windows Phone and Windows 8.1. So I knew that they were being sold in Microsoft stores for some time. I wasn't really able to find any reviews, a couple reviews here and there, but really not too many like actual user experiences on Insteon's platform at the time I started to look. And so that left Wink, right? So my dad's birthday was coming up in January, and we struggle, as we always do every year, because my dad's birthday is less than a month away from Christmas, with figuring out something to get him. So I took the idea of, hey, why don't I get him the Wink platform, because he's always someone who used to use like light timers, and timers were always a big thing in our house growing up, whether it was Christmas lights outside or, garden lighting or, indoor home lighting. You'd always hear kind of that tick, 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 tick of an indoor home timer that, the old kind where you'd plug it into a wall, spin the dial, and then plug in your device, very, very analog, no intelligence really, just kind of off on one time. And that was it. So, I knew about Wink, and my dad's a big iOS user, so I knew Wink was big on iOS. So I took the plunge and I bought him a kit, that came with the hub that you needed for your house and some light bulbs. And I got it for him as a birthday gift. And, not really knowing where it would go. And I wasn't really in my mind ready to take that plunge in home automation. But the day I gave it to my dad, he was like, let's set it up. Let's do it right now. So we open the box up, we set the hub up, and we had 2 light bulbs, and, the app got installed on my dad's phone. And, within a matter of like an hour, we had everything set up and everything figured out. And I was really impressed with the ease of use and customization and the app interface. And so I was like, okay, I think if I'm going to do this, this is the platform I'm going to go with. So I ordered the same setup that, you know, my dad did. I ordered a hub with 2 light bulbs, and thus I began my journey in home automation. So to fast forward from January till now, I now have I'll tell you exactly what we're dealing with here in my house, because it's not just a couple light bulbs anymore. It's actually a pretty robust setup I got now. We have 2, 4, 6, 8. We have 8 light bulbs that are on our home automation platform. We have a smoke detector set up for that. We also have a device that is in our refrigerator that tells us how many eggs we have in our refrigerator at a given time, and which egg is the freshest and which one we should be using first. And we also have internet-controlled garage door opener. So if you know, we need to control the garage door opener, we leave it open and we're on a trip, we can close it from anywhere in the world. If we leave it open too long, it sends us a notification that we can close it or not. And finally, we have a device that tells me how much propane I have in my grill tank, you know, so whether I need to replace my propane tank or not. So this is the type of stuff I got going on right now. I also have a home panel that I can set up in the house to control all the home automation stuff. Because right now it's only limited to a tablet or my smartphone or my wife's smartphone, and there's no device in the house we can use to kind of control everything. I have the panel, I haven't set it up. I need the help of an electrician to do it because of a wiring situation in my home. But overall, you know, it's been a lot of criticisms towards Wink. You know, people have said that the software has been buggy, the scheduling hasn't been reliable. You know, there's been a litany of complaints, and my experience has been very positive. I haven't had the complaints that other people have dealt with. I think that wireless interference in terms of, you know, what Wi-Fi band you have in your home, what gigahertz range is it operating in, these are concerns that I think other people have, and that's what's causing their incompatibilities. But, you know, for whatever reason, we're okay here in my house. But it's been a great thing. You know, I'm able to schedule the individual times of individual devices. I'm able to control the you know, the on and off nature of them anywhere in the world, which is good. You know, if you know, we're going to be away for an extended period of time and longer than we thought, and you know, we didn't turn any lights on in the house, you know, we can do that. Our exterior lights are on a timer, so we're always coming home to a well-lit home, you know, and they're very bright. So I don't know how familiar you are with the new light bulb technologies that are going on, John. You know, we're getting away as a country from incandescent, and we're forced to move by legislation to LED, and then the coil, you know, the coil bulbs, which I don't know what the actual scientific, what are those called?
A compact fluorescent.
Thank you. My experience with those was pretty good, you know, in terms of the compact fluorescents. You know, found some that turned on very quickly. You know, didn't really need much time to get warmed up, and you know, pretty much had my entire basement outfitted with them, you know, for basement lighting, and a couple of lamps in the house. But I gotta say, you know, LED bulbs are significantly more expensive than compact fluorescent. But I got to say, the quality of the lighting is probably the best lighting I've ever experienced out of any bulb ever.
Well, I mean, in regards to that, I have a lot of experience with CFLs and LEDs from working with like Arduino and Raspberry Pi and stuff. But with CFLs, I mean, I've always been kind of excited ever since I learned how much of an impact that has on your energy costs if you were to convert from incandescent to compact fluorescent. And if you go into Home Depot or Lowe's and just look at the variety of like shades and intensities and colors that you have within those lights, it's kind of exciting. I mean, as a creative, I'm always interested in those lights because lights add flavor to images, and images are an important communication for me. So that part of it I love, and I really love Philips Hue. I imagine that you're going to talk about Philips Hue. as a platform because of the way that you can match photos to colors, and you can have it automated with if this then that, and all kinds of things can happen.
Yeah, I haven't actually taken the plunge into Philips Hue because currently the only advantage it offers over the Wink lights is color, right? So color is not something that is necessarily critical to me at this point in time. My friend Shane, on the other hand, who's invested a lot of money in the Philips Hue platform, has many different color programs, available to him. In fact, I was just over his house last week. We were watching the Women's World Cup together, and he has an actual color palette for when he's watching a movie or TV at night. And I gotta say, the experience, while it is a true luxury, a novelty, whatever word you want to throw at it, it actually was really beneficial. It created a beautiful environment to take in. He's got a 65-inch LED TV, and it was really a really great experience.
I think the question becomes whether or not, what's important to you. You can spend $100 on lots of different things, but if you spend $100 on Hue lighting, or probably more likely 200 or 250, you're going to be able to change your environment pretty dramatically, and from your phone be able to change your environment like on a whim to a really beautiful, like there's all kinds of things. You can have your Hue lights match the brightness of a sunrise at the times that the sun is rising. So, and not only brightness, but color, so you can use sunrise colors and have your room light up as though the sunrise was happening in your room. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And that's actually one thing that about the Wink platform is you can set your lights to turn off and on, with the sunrise and sunset times, and it keeps it automatically updated to the minute every day as it changes, which is, it's really huge for me because, I want those exterior lights to go on, as it's getting dark, so that for safety reasons, for visibility reasons, but also, even though I am saving a tremendous amount of money by using LED bulbs, I still don't want to be wasteful in that electricity. Each of the bulbs themselves are 800 lumens, which is pretty bright. They equate it to like a 60-watt bulb, but I think it's way brighter than any 60-watt bulb I've ever had. And also you can control the dim, the level of brightness on each individual bulb, which is great. And in addition to that, the shelf life on these bulbs is like 20 years.
Yeah.
And it would only cost you like $1.26 to run it in that 20 years, which is like insane. So that's been huge, so I've been where it's made sense to put those bulbs, my family room, my office, our bedroom, exterior lighting, like I said, front door, garage lights, back lights, I've been setting them up where I can. It's about $15 a bulb, $10 a bulb, depending on if you're getting a sale or not. But, like I said, I don't have to buy a bulb ever again, pretty much. 20 years is a really long time for a bulb. So to me, it's worth it because if you think about it over that period of time, you're going to spend probably, what's an incandescent bulb break down to $1 something anyway. You're probably going to spend $20 over 20 years. So what's the harm in spending it up front? You know what I mean? And maybe you'll get more time out of that. I'm sure I will never even see the life of any of these bulbs. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe something else will happen and I'll end up switching to another lighting technology. But all in all, I mean, it's the only area of Wink that I haven't really explored yet that I really, really want to is thermostat control in addition to temperature sensors, where you could put temperature sensors in different rooms and, link that to the thermostat so that when you set your house thermostat to 73 degrees, it's not your air conditioning or heating is not going to turn off until it's 73 degrees in all those rooms, where you want them. And in addition to that too, it gives you control. Like, so at nighttime, if you're sleeping and you want it to be a certain temperature and you're only going to be in your bedroom, you can set it up to say, listen, only pay attention to this sensor. That's the next level that I want to get to. But, I have older air conditioning unit, older heating unit, and I have a thermostat challenge going on where I have 2 thermostats for like no good reason whatsoever. So I have to get someone out to like consolidate the wiring. It's like a whole big thing, and I'm not ready to tackle that. but I do want to, and I plan on doing it at some point. And that's a big my energy bill every month. That's a big spot for me. Is that I know a big bulk of it is coming from either heating or air conditioning. And it's a major contributor. So I want to be as efficient as possible. Our HVAC units are older, from the 90s, early 90s, so they're not efficient. But it's very expensive to replace those items. So it's not, everything's working, and so it's not the highest priority I have at the moment. But it's something I plan on visiting, and I really want to be able to leverage the Nest platform, the Wink platform, to make improvements on that. And that's another great thing too about Wink is, even though it is a proprietary system, it's pretty open in the sense that there's an API that developers can tap into, and they've struck partnerships with Nest. So if you're a user of the Nest thermostat or the Nest smoke detector, you can tie into the Wink platform with those devices. Chamberlain, the garage door company, has partnered with them and opened up their devices to be controlled by Wink, that's how I'm using my garage door opener. So it's like, I think it's great. And they just also, now this is something that might be interesting to you, John, I know, they also just struck a partnership with Google for integration of Wink into Google Now and Android Wear. So you can control your devices from your Android watch, or, you'll get certain notifications from Google Now. So that's, now that I'm back on Android, I have checked out the Wink technologies with the Android Wear. It's pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to really figure out the Google Now stuff. I'm still trying to get into the habit of using Google Now. It's still a pretty new thing for me. So yeah, overall, very happy with it. I actually did have some experiences with their customer service. I had some challenges with a couple devices, and I contacted customer service through email, through Twitter, and also on the phone in 3 different situations, and the service was top notch. I was never on hold for more than 2 minutes before I got somebody on the phone. People based out of New York City, so language was not a problem. No communication barriers. Very patient, very knowledgeable staff. Was trying to set up the propane measure device for my grill. Very challenging to get it set up correctly. And they made sure that they stayed on the phone with me until it worked. We were on the phone an hour trying to get it to go, trying all different tricks and technologies, and suggesting I try different devices and different distances and all this stuff. And we got it. They were committed to making sure it worked. So it's been a great experience. They had a recent, very public outage, which bricked some of the hubs that people use to control their homes, and it was a little bit of an embarrassment because it was something that could have been prevented on their end. I was not, unfortunately, in that group of people that was affected, but my opinion is that they've handled themselves very well, even in that adversity. Just an all-around great thing. And we talked about last time how they're a spinoff of Quirky. And I just read last week that Quirky is shutting down their invention division, and they're kind of focusing on gun for hire design and also on Wink. So those are their 2 kind of core missions going forward. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with Wink going forward. Like you said, Internet of Things is the future. It's going to be this transformative technology that changes the game. And we're just at the beginning of it, and the things that we're able to do now are really impressive. And I can't sing the praises of it enough. And since we're always, one topic that you and I are always discussing is open standards and open protocols. There have been some standards, Zigbee, Z-Wave. These are 2 big open standard protocols for Internet of Things, for home automation. And Wink supports those standards as well. So if you have devices that use those standards, they're fully compatible with the platform. So, like I said, there's very few things you can complain about.
One thing, a whole bunch of things come to mind from the conversation. The first is that Google just made a major announcement in I/O, their yearly announcement fest, where they're talking about Google Brillo, which is their Internet of Things platform. And I think that's kind of exciting that they are getting behind it in such a big way. The other thing is that Fitbit, which I believe we've talked about their customer service before and how good they are about replacing items that are lost or broken. And
Right.
those are Internet of Things items too, and they're not home automation, but they're health automation. You know, if I step on my Fitbit scale, my charts automatically go up every day or a couple times a day, depending on whatever. And as I walk in the door, my Fitbit around my neck synchronizes with my network and updates my charts. So I'm certainly interested in those things. The other thing is that there are concerns, of course, with the Internet of Things and with home automation that hacking would take place. And if I can hack into my neighbor's house and get on their network and start to play with their lights, you know, I could make their life pretty miserable.
Or even greater concern, you know, you can get locks. Many of the major doorknob and lock companies have Wink compatible locks, so you could just unlock somebody's house or open their garage door. So yeah, those concerns are real, and I understand them absolutely.
But I think that it's not a good enough reason to not pursue these things. And the other thing that's a big inhibitor for me personally is that I no longer live in a single home. I live in an apartment, and I'm reluctant to put a pinhole in the wall, much less do some weird configuration with their ancient heating technology or HVAC technology, which does not have a thermostat. It's like I'm not going to open up the wires of the HVAC unit just so that I can use Nest. And finally, I wanted to mention that there was a video that I have not seen, but I've heard about of a CEO of Nest or a high-ranking Google official. Of course, Nest is owned by Google, showing some flaws with the Nest smoke alarms, and tried to spend like 20 minutes. He ended up smashing the thing to like get it to shut up because he could not get it to stop. And it's being worked out, but it's not there yet. And I think that the more experiments that we do and sort of discover what we can do with these things, the better feedback can be given back and the better customer service can be given in response.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that Nest thing you just discussed, and my understanding is it was something that affected early models of the Nest thermostat, the Nest Protect smoke alarm, and that the newer ones don't have that issue. But yeah, I mean, one of the beauties of Internet of Things is that because everything is connected, you know, everything can be updated, right? So when I go into my app, my Wink app, I literally can see what version of firmware each individual light bulb is on, and they have the ability to push an update for me. They push the updates for firmware on my hub for me. If I need them to, I've done that. I've called them and I said, listen, I'm behind. I can't get the update to go myself. Can you do it? They've done it. So the beauty is, always connected, always on. It's kind of like the whole Google Chrome thing. It's like our apps on our phones. An update is just a small turn away, and I think it's really great. So hopefully we can all benefit from that always on kind of connection.
Yeah, and I'm personally excited for kitchen technology related to home automation and Internet of Things, because food in my kitchen, I understand that it's not the same for everybody. I mean, I cook a lot, and maybe you do too, but I know a lot of people who don't spend a lot of time in their kitchen. When I spend time in the kitchen or even outside of the kitchen, I would love to be updated in the same way that I'm updated about my health and my steps and my weight. I would love to be updated about the state of my eggs and bread and things that are cooking and coffee or whatever. So, I mean, bring it on for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, if it's something you're interested in, you can get involved in the Wink platform very cheaply. There's often deals at Home Depot where you can get, if you buy 2 bulbs, you get the hub for free. That saves you $50, that kind of thing. It's like I said, it's worth checking out. It's not too expensive to get involved. They even have a cheaper option where you get 2 bulbs and what they call like it's called the Wink Hub Lite, where it's just a smaller version of the hub, and all it lets you control is the lighting. You can't use any of the other devices, but that's a even cheaper way to start checking it out. So I if you ever decide to take the plunge, John, I'd love to hear about your experiences.
Yeah, and lights are one of the ways that I can really do it, either through Arduino or Raspberry Pi or something like Wink or Philips Hue. I really love the idea of Hue, although it's an expensive initial get.
Super expensive.
Yeah, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. I like the integration with If This Then That. I like the integration with other future Hue devices. And matter of fact, after having this conversation, I think I might go take a look at my local Home Depot or Lowe's and see what the prices are like, what options are available. Because I have 4 really beautiful standing floor lamps from IKEA that, with 4 lamps, you could do a lot of things in my small space,
right,
to affect the look and feel. And I mean, if it's $200, I could afford that right now.
All right. Well, I'm glad you can.
Things are going well.
Good.
So, anything else you want to say about that topic?
No. Let's move on to yours.
Great. So, I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about customer service as it relates to civic action. And lately in Princeton, I have been a part of several group meetings related to civic action and civic hacking, and I wanted to talk with you a little bit about them. The first thing I wanted to talk about was Code for Princeton. Code for Princeton is the local chapter of Code for America, which is an initiative to get people who understand how to code, people who have coding literacy and hacking capabilities, to take data and do something interesting with it or helpful with it, whether it be about parking problems like we have in Princeton, or litter, or problems in general, a pothole. So recently, a couple weeks ago, there was a hackathon in Princeton that was run by Code for Princeton, and they had a great turnout. They limited it to 100 and had to turn people away. And I was happy to be manning a table outside talking about making as a topic and trying to get people interested for future events. And it's an ongoing series of meetings. It's a meetup on meetup.com for Code for Princeton. And they get together and just do co-working or try to work on problems that the mayor has expressed that she would like to see resolved better, and using hacking. And we spent a lot of time trying to convey to people that hacking is not bad, that just because they hear the word hacking on the news all the time, that hacking is the right term for that. But hacking in and of itself is not bad. It's like you can cook your dinner with fire, or you can burn down your house with fire. Fire is not the problem, right? So
right.
There's that. There's also right now in Princeton, the Princeton Parklet. And the Princeton Parklet, parklets in general, are a method by which an urban space, like parking spaces, usually 2 or 3 parking spaces, are transformed into congregation spaces and art spaces. And the reason for this is to bring people together, and it's usually related to like coffee or art or food or whatever. And it's usually temporary, and it's like a little set of reminders. And I was lucky enough to be asked by the Arts Council in Princeton, as well as Peter Soderman, to develop some sculptures for the parklet. And I have, if you've been following my social media at all, I'm sure you saw my maple seeds. And things are really taking off with that. And the reason that we did it was to bring people's minds back to nature, to remind people, despite the fact they're sitting next to a bunch of asphalt and concrete and lots of people, we wanted to bring nature back into people's minds as they sit and enjoy their coffee or whatever. And we're going to do a series of these. And I say we, it's me and Peter Soderman have come up with the idea. I designed the seeds, and then we went to workshops in order to do glass blowing and to do wood cutting in order to realize them. But that's also civic hacking. We're trying to get people to be more social. We're trying to get people to remember nature. We're trying to get people to stop and appreciate. And when that happens, they might pass that on to other people in the city. And we really love it as a concept for civic hacking. And then finally, I wanted to talk about my t-shirts. I just got these Lemesny.com t-shirts.
Nice.
And part of the reason for that is because I often find myself, sitting somewhere where I might want to just hang out somewhere, and I figured that I would use that opportunity to advertise sort of passively as I go. And I don't know why. It's like, as an independent consultant, I feel like I've been stumbling upon long-standing ideas that are traditional ideas for marketing that I've never really pursued for whatever reason. And so this has been a good learning. Like, I'm spending more time in like little conferences and business expositions, and not as much in speaking opportunities, although I still do that. This is more like networking opportunities. And I feel like as a form of customer service, having a one-on-one connection as opposed to a one-to-many connection can increase customer service greatly.
Mm-hmm.
And what else has been going on? A whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I'll have some updates about projects that I've been working on in regards to video and WordPress and those kinds of things after they launch. They should be launching soon. But I guess I'm just excited to talk with you about the idea of projects for customer service as it relates to civic life. Have you ever experienced anything or been a part of anything like that where you were asked to go through a process of making things better in your environment?
No, I mean, I haven't. I mean, I guess the only example I could even give of that was my friend Shane, who I mentioned before, and we were, we went to high school together. We were both in the marching band together. We were asked to, in the age of, oh, you know how to do a website? We were asked to basicly do a website for the.
By the way, that age is right now.
I feel like this is I'm referring to a different, when there were less people that knew how to do websites.
Yeah.
We were asked to do the website for our marching band for school. And it was a project that we both were really excited about doing because it meant we didn't have to actually do marching band. We were able to just. Was
there a GIF of you going? Dun, 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 dun?
This was the era when the animated GIF, remember how it was like a thing and then it disappeared for like 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like the first era of the GIF.
It's back with a vengeance.
It is back, and it's better than ever, if you ask me. No, we did not have any animated GIFs on that website. But I have had a very long history with the animated GIF, and I'm so glad that it is what it is now. Because also happy to hear you say GIF, because
oh yeah,
my wife has knows someone who insists on the whole GIF thing, and listen, I get it, I understand. The creator of the technology calls it GIF and blah 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 blah. But absolutely wrong. As the famous Chris Hardwick animated GIF says, it's graphical whatever the heck the GIF. What does GIF stand for? Graphical something interchange file.
Interchange format.
Yeah, right. So GIF, right? And how is that pronounced? GIF.
It's GIF.
So, yes, exactly. So I will take that to my grave. Tim Berners-Lee himself, or whoever created the GIF himself, can come to my face and tell me otherwise. But these colors don't run, my friend.
That's right.
I'm standing by as GIF all day, every day. So I always say, choose you moms, choose GIF, but I choose GIF. So
Good for you, Sean.
Thanks. But anyway, yeah. So we were asked to do that, and we as we had to represent the ideals of a very large community. Not only were we representing the ideas of the students in the marching band, the student leadership, the teachers, but also there was a booster organization which were representative, made up of parents who volunteered their time. There was a committee, president. It was a very serious fundraising and money management organization that managed the band's activities. And then we were representing all these three constituents, and we're talking, and also the color guard, as well. So we're talking hundreds of people we were representing with this project. So it was a big deal at the time, and I don't know if we took it as seriously as we would have now, but we still did our very best, and that website was used for many years even after we left. But that's my only example of civil engagement. And I'm very familiar with a lot of the projects you've been involved in, and in the ones that you just mentioned. I know you were involved in my beloved township, Ewing Township's website redesign project, which is something I was very proud to learn that a little piece of you still remains here in Ewing, because our website is still WordPress and still a wonderful, easy to navigate municipal site compared to many of the others that I've seen. So, you've had way more experience than I have in this area. Not that I'm against it, but I'm of the mindset I have a really hard time, John, taking direction from people who are not as technically savvy as me. That's always been a challenge of mine, and that comes from the many years serving in higher education technology. I'm all for constructive criticism, and I'm all for hearing people's ideas and input and taking them to heart. But a lot of times, my experience has been that you get the people who have the least amount of knowledge or experience in technical things are the loudest. And that's something that I don't want to deal with in my at this point in my life anymore. So I've kind of purposely not involved myself in projects like that because of that. And I'm sure, that's very selfish, and there's a bunch of other negative adjectives you could say about me for doing that, but it helps me sleep well at night. And that's, not having that stress around is a big thing.
Well, I guess for me, like, speaking to that idea, I often, many of my clients don't know as much as I do about technology. That's why they're my clients. And so customer service for me is like guiding them to be able to have a technological solution executed without them having to know how, or with them having to know the bare minimum of what they absolutely need to know in order to execute something. And
well, I think we're kind of talking about two different things, because in the scenario you're describing, I completely agree with you, right? People that often hire knowledgeable professionals like you or I, they're hiring us for a reason. That's because they don't have the knowledge themselves. And I would say 95% of the time will trust us emphatically with our knowledge, expertise, and skills, right? It's these scenarios where people are not paying you to be involved, where people think they have, that's the challenge, right? So the last real experience I had with this, negative experience before I decided I was done, was a project I was working on at my previous institution. Was a departmental website redesign, and there were the two most important people in the department were the department manager and the department chair, who basically said, "You got carte blanche. We trust your judgment." Boom. The project took a really long time, and there was an acting chair at one point or another, who was sort of overseeing the work I was still doing. But at the end of the day, the actual chair was the one who really mattered the most. And this acting chair tried to say that we should have open forum where we invited alumni, graduate students, undergraduate students, staff, and all the faculty to provide feedback and feature requests on about what the new website should have. And I was like, I literally went to my boss and said, if this is something that we're going to do, I'm not even going to do this project. I'm putting my foot down, because when you get into those situations, those are the worst, because everybody, it's that whole thing. You see in Hollywood, right? Executives want to make notes on things, because if they don't feel like they make a note, then they're not justifying their paycheck, right? So it's kind of that same thing. If you're calling all these different groups together, and their feedback, people want to just feel like they're heard, right? And that has a good side to it and a bad side to it. And more often than not, in these kind of free scenarios, that's a bad thing. So that's where I'm coming from, and I know you're coming from a different place, because these people are seeking you out for your expertise and your knowledge, your reputation, and so they're going to trust you, and they're going to oftentimes go with what you recommend.
And I would say that this idea of free work doesn't. I don't think that you're saying that it's mandated that it would be a negative experience. And in fact, I mean, volunteerism, which all of which the things that I was talking about, Code for Princeton, the Princeton Parklet, it was all volunteer. There's not money involved, but there's money around it. Like we'll probably sell the sculptures, for example. And all of the people who are a part of Code for Princeton and the people who I've met through Code for Princeton are, in many cases, likely to become clients. And so even though there's a hierarchy and a power potential issue with that volunteerism, within volunteerism, there certainly has been a pathway to a business venture in other ways. And I've met some really great people in this project, in both of these projects, including like Fubar Labs in New Brunswick, where they have a makerspace, and they essentially are in a warehouse, and they invite people to come and work on projects, whatever they might be, and also to gain from the expertise of each other. So even though it's all volunteer, not that Fubar Labs doesn't have a premium model. I mean, you can pay into that space, but you can participate in lots of ways for free and get value in return for free. Free is an interesting idea, and of course, free, monetarily free, ideologically free, free as in freedom, as you know, are all incredibly important concepts to me.
Yes, I know that, and it's. I'm all for free software and free idea and all that, but I don't know. I just feel like I've been burned one too many times, and that's led me to where I am today. There was a period of time where I was the first to say, "Let me help you with this technological problem." I got no problem doing it. You want to spend 12 hours working on this website or this this technological challenge. You're having a problem with your computer. For years I was the first person to volunteer and help people out. But you can only take so much abuse, John.
I agree, and I think I feel differently now because I've had so many successful, beneficial, and rewarding volunteer experiences, and also because it does lead to non-volunteer situations. When I was working in 9 to 5, most of the time with you, when I was working that 9 to 5 job, it was much more difficult for me to consider extracurricular activities. And now it has become important for me to be a part of things that are volunteer, or there's another meetup that I'm part of called Climate Change Conversation. And there were only 4 people in the meeting, but they were the right 4 people.
Right.
And volunteer, and we're not going to reduce climate change in the meeting. That's not really what it's about. The conversation is about opportunities to change things on a much smaller scale. And it's been very, very interesting, and it will possibly lead to business-oriented things. But it's all about customer service in those meetings, because we are serving each other in working through ideas or talking about what's important to us or whatever. There's been a lot of that going on in Princeton recently. As a matter of fact, there's another meeting called Princeton Community Collective, run by Bainey Surrey, one of my favorite people. And she's just trying to bring people together to talk about what's important to them and see if we can all help to make it happen free of charge. And it's like, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It does have to have value in order to work for the people involved. But I'll bet I'm gonna look for a meetup that you would be perfect for and give you an opportunity to fall in love with volunteerism again.
Well, I go ahead.
I will do that.
Go ahead. Don't hold your breath,
Okay,
because I don't know. You know me pretty well, and
I do.
I'm on the opposite side of the touchy-feely spectrum from you. So
Yeah,
uh,
I like that about our dynamic because you
yeah.
always keep me in check.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand why you would get yourself involved in the things that you get yourself involved in. And there's never a time where I hear about one of your activities where I say, like, what the fuck is he doing wasting his time with that? You know, like,
Yeah,
even if it's not something I would ever do, because I know you and I know the things that are important to you, um, you know, it always seems like it's a logical fit from my perspective. So, you know, you're better suited for this work than I am. You know what I mean? But
we each have our skills and expertise and wants for
that's
sure.
right. That's right. Since you mentioned Maker, my cousin just told me that there is going to be a major Maker convention or event or something in Tom's River coming up this
Really?
summer. Yeah, my cousin lives in Matawan and has a son that's very into Maker. And he's a member of his school's STEAM club and science, technology, educate, whatever the heck the acronym stands for. Not Steam, the video game platform,
Yeah.
but
It's science, technology, uh, education, arts, and mathematics.
okay, there you go. So that's what he's in, and he's become very into Maker, and so apparently there's going to be this big Maker event in Tom's River this summer. So you might want to Google that and find out
If I said the name, would you remember it?
where it was.
No, what it was called.
Oh no, she just told me that it's just going to be like I think it might have been a Maker fair.
Okay.
But it's going to be a big. She said it's supposed to be a very big Maker event. So
I just got asked to be a part of the board for an event in 2016 called Building Steam, and
okay.
That's going to be in Monmouth County. And what's interesting is we're looking to get like 10,000 people to show up.
That's pretty giant.
That is pretty giant. I'm a little bit concerned, but I'm also really excited. I can't wait to see what comes of it because I've never been a part of a planning team for a get together this big, but if we can pull it off, it'll be amazing.
There is going to be a Maker Fest, Jersey Shore Maker Fest, which is in October at my old high school, actually, believe it or not.
We went there one.
They're planning on having 4,000 people potentially at this event.
Isn't that where we went? We went to your high school.
When did we go to my high school?
To meet your dad.
No, that was his high school.
Oh.
I didn't go to high school in Keyport. That's where my dad used to teach.
Okay.
Maybe it's this one. I just Googled it real quick. There was a Maker New Jersey Maker Day was at the Ocean County Library in Tom's River in March.
There's a whole bunch of making events going on with libraries in New Jersey. It's kind of a thing.
I'll try to get the info from her. She said she was going to send it to me, but she said it was supposed to be in the summer. But they're planning on having a very big one in October as well. But yeah, there you go. So, whatever happened to that Maker space that was going on in Trenton? Whatever happened with that?
Well, we're talking about Artworks, and there was an attempt to make it into a maker space, but I don't think it was a very good fit. They're really about arts, and while art is making, they're not the same thing. So it's still possible, but I think that other maker spaces have filled that gap.
What are our maker spaces in the Princeton, Lawrenceville, Trenton, Ewing area, Hamilton area?
Those four particular areas are not well suited for making. I mean, there's like, if we're talking about Princeton, Monroe Township Public Library has a really great maker space, and if you go to libraries, chances are they have maker things going on. Sometimes they're very small,
Mm-hmm.
Some have dedicated makerspaces where they have 3D printers and all kinds of stuff. And in this area, about a half an hour away in New Brunswick, on Brunswick Avenue, East Brunswick Avenue, 100 East Brunswick Avenue, that's where Fubar Labs is. And that's a dedicated makerspace.
Just think Trenton is like a prime area for that, because you probably could get cheap
I-
real estate somewhere. And
I agree completely. I don't know why there are not more, but the answer is, why are you not doing that, John? And like, I don't have an answer for that.
yeah, you're wasting your time outside of Mercer County. Like, where's your home base loyalty there, bro?
Right, well, I'm actually in Middlesex.
Really? Plainsboro's Middlesex?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
we're like right on the border. But, yeah, I would.
Yeah, but you're so Princeton, and that's Mercer County. You know?
That's true. That's true. I would love to have a makerspace occur in Princeton. The problem with makerspaces in Princeton is that everything's so expensive.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying Trenton.
Yeah, Trenton, I would be able to do. I could probably get somebody to donate a garage for for this purpose, and then the question becomes, how do we keep it safe? How do we blah blah blah? But yeah, I mean, that's like a little bit of a dream for me. I would love to do that.
You should write a letter to the mayor of Trenton about it, because he seems to be very focused on like science and technology with Trenton youth. I've noticed a couple articles around that.
I should do that, because the mayor of Princeton, in fact, has been very supportive of both the Code for Princeton effort as well as the Princeton Parklet. So maybe we can take that show on the road.
It's a good idea. Yeah, I wonder if she's got any ties to Mayor Jackson.
That's a good question. I'll have to talk to her about that the next time I see her.
Should get that going, bro. Get it going.
Sean, you've inspired me. I'm going to go to Home Depot and drop like $200 on lights, and then I'm going to go talk to the mayor, and she's going to be like, "What's your name again?"
What about the New Jersey State Library? You got connections there?
I do.
That would be another possibility as well.
Yeah, they have actually distributed grants for makerspaces to New Jersey libraries.
So why not distribute a grant to benefit their own home territory?
Well, because right now things are going especially well, but like I want to say 2 months ago, there was a question whether I was even going to be able to continue to not have a 9-to-5 job. So now that things are stable, other possibilities are there.
Cool.
All right. Well,
any closing or departing words, as we usually have?
Yeah, I wanted to say, of course, thank you, as always. And I wanted to say, if you want to follow me and Sean, we're easy enough to find. I'm Lamasny on lamasny.com. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, and basically, all the big social media things. How about you?
I don't know. I always come up with good, like, short little nuggets of like sort of shout outs. I don't know. I haven't really had too many I haven't really had a great customer service experience in a long time. Like in my everyday life kind of thing, like I've been traveling a lot for work, and haven't had any, like, I was in San Francisco, and I didn't have any like wonderful experiences there. Nothing outstanding about flying. No, there was no flight attendant that was super wonderful to me or anything. But I haven't, at the end of the day, haven't had any bad experience, like really terrible experiences either. I guess that's a good thing, that things are kind of just in the middle. But I don't know. That's kind of disappointing to me, because I always like being able to like cry about something, or like shout from the rooftops about how amazing something has been.
I have one negative story.
Let's hear it. because
Okay.
we're still
Uh,
under our normal, we're still under our normal par time here. So why don't you
okay.
pat it out with a little story there?
So I'm always looking for work, right?
Yeah,
And I decided to investigate something I'd heard about called outsource.com.
I think I've heard of it. Yeah, it's let me correct me if I'm wrong. It's a website where you can kind of list yourself with skills that you have. It's like a marketplace for individuals. Like,
It's like LinkedIn, but the intention is for you to get jobs
right, okay.
and individual jobs and related to graphic design, related to web development, 3D
Yeah.
modeling, all the stuff that I do. So I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. Let's see if it's active. And I signed up. And when you sign up, you pay $125 for 6 months worth of credits. There is not another option. You can't, I don't believe you can buy individual credits one at a time. And in order to apply for a job, it costs you 3 credits. And you might get the job, you might not, but that's the way their business model works. And I was like, well, let's see how it goes. And so I put in my money and I went and put in for a bunch of jobs. But the process is a little bit weird because it's all text-based. It's like you can't shake anybody's hand. You can upload photos that might speak to the job being requested, but like that tends to be a lot of work. I would really prefer if I could just put up like a huge portfolio, which I guess I could do, and direct people to that instead of having to write individually to all the job requests. And you can only use so many credits per month. So at any rate, I signed up for it, and the next day, like 12 jobs came through, and every day since, like 12 jobs have come through, and you can only apply for like 10 jobs. So I applied for the 10 jobs, ran out of credits, and waited, like intently trying to see whether or not people were gonna, and no response. And I still gave up that portion of my money, which was somewhere around $20. What's 125 divided by 6?
Right.
And I was surprised that, and they did give me 1 or 2 refunds because people did not look at the quotes. Like you don't pay for quotes that don't get seen. But after a month, I was like, I'm getting bombarded with these emails I can't respond to because I've run out of credits for the month. And I didn't see a lot of value in it. So I was like, it was worth a try. It was a neat idea, but I'm not interested. So I go to the site trying to look to cancel to get a refund. There's no way to cancel on the site.
You got to call.
You got to email or call. So I email. And of course they say, not only like, hey, maybe you're doing it wrong, which is like, whatever, I would expect that. But then they said, and we can't give you a refund. That's not our policy.
Okay.
And I was like, you can't give me a refund? We're talking about credits. And
Right.
it was just like ridiculous that I had put money into this, not read the fine print, looked to get out of it, and not only had to like go through an extra effort to do it, but I'm not going to see my money again, and don't feel like I'm getting any value for the money. I could have spent that money on Hue lights.
You could have. Yep.
So it was not a good customer experience for me. And I'm now actively telling people in my position with my kinds of skills, do not participate in outsource.com because they will take your money and run.
Well, I think that's an important story. I don't necessarily agree with the model that they've established there. And, it's sure it's fine and dandy for them to say, well, it's in the fine print, it's our policy. But at the end of the day, some good faith, you know what I mean? Like if they wanted you to maybe be a return customer or give them a second thought in the future, they could have offered you like, okay, listen, we can't give you the $120 back, but here's $40 or here's, $80, something, you know what I mean?
They did say we'll give you 30 free credits.
Yeah, but how does that help? If you want out, like if you want out.
That was my thought. I was like, I want credits. I want 0 credits.
Yeah, I want money.
You have the value of your credits back for other people since they're bits.
Right.
But, it's ridiculous. Like I feel like I was playing Farmville or something.
You were playing Farmville.
I bought a cow, a virtual cow, and I can't get any milk.
Nope. No, that's a good analogy. I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Outsource.com, the Farmville of the hiring world.
Exactly right. And, related, I heard about this hashtag called NoSpec. Have you ever heard of NoSpec?
I'm not familiar with it. Please tell me.
Okay, so NoSpec is a philosophy in graphic design and web development and related work like you and I do, that says don't do work in the hopes of getting work that is unpaid. Like if you're doing volunteerism, like that's one thing.
Oh, so no speculative work.
No speculative work. In other words, if somebody puts out a call for proposals or whatever, like put in your proposal, but don't like design the site or some portion of the site in preparation for getting the job, because that is valuable work that can be demonstrated later after you've been accepted for that position.
Right.
Or not.
Well, let me tell you something. That is a core principle that I will absolutely put my support behind, because
well, it's related to your, I don't want to say anti-volunteerism, but it's, whatever we call that.
You could call it anti-volunteerism. I give you permission to call it that. Yep.
It's horrible though.
It's fine, but I mean, I'm not making any no bones about it, John. I mean, I'm not in denial here.
Okay.
I mean, I get it, but I mean, I think that's great, and I have a lot of friends who are designers, graphic designers, all kinds of different design fields, and I know that they've taken some freelance work and they've put themselves in that position, and over the years I've told them, why are you doing that? Like, so it's great. So is this a big movement? Is it getting a lot of traction? Is this like an international movement? Where are we talking here?
Big within the niche of designers, developers, like anybody who would be asked to do speculative work, creative work usually, is being asked to consider not doing that, because it devalues all of our work. And there are entire sites like outsource.com in which people do work. The name of the site that comes to mind is Logo Contest or something.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. And the problem with it is you do the work, you give it to the person who's asking for the work without getting paid unless your design gets chosen. And then they could take that, give it to a designer, and they could recreate it for less money, for example.
Right.
Because they get to see the work. The whole process is a little bit demeaning to designers.
I agree, and that's the design space is bad enough as it is with because there's more designers than there are work, and therefore wages are lower, and blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? And that whole thing, it's just further taking advantage of the talents of people in that space, and that's not something I subscribe to or want to be a part of. If I was ever in a position where was looking for that type of work to be done. No spec. I've never asked anybody to design logos for me without, first of all, vetting their work ahead of time, through portfolio or example jobs or something like that. Never would ask somebody, say, well, what do you think? What is your take on my idea? And then no, it's terrible. So I'm happy to hear that that's kind of gaining traction, and definitely behind that with my anti-volunteerism believing
your
principles.
But yeah, we're essentially talking about an antithetical movement against crowdsourced design, for example. Crowdsourced
design, yeah, okay. So Yeah, I guess that in the example of the marketplace you used, I think that would be crowdsourced design, and yeah, that would be bad. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there, I guess there are then limitations to open source, crowdsource ideas. You know, there are ideas where it's being taken advantage of and misrepresented.
It's different if I choose to make a design for free and put it out there and let anybody have it under Creative Commons licensing, for example. That's a decision I'm making, and it's for my purpose. But when somebody comes to me, usually a friend, and they say, "Oh, you do design, right?" You know, and they might say, "I have an event coming up. Would you mind doing the poster?" And I'll say, "Sure." It'll be, you know, if it's 20 by 30 and you want this done to it and you want this image that I have to create and blah, 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 I'll give it to you for, you know, it'll probably be 3 hours work for me at $125 an hour, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, "Oh, I can't possibly afford that. Is there any chance that we could do like a trade?" And I'll say, "Sure, you know, we can work out a trade, or I can even do it pro bono in preparation for future work." But then, more often than not, I'll get involved with the project, or I'll go to the event for free or whatever, and I'll see that the caterer is getting paid, and I'll see that the printer got paid, and I'll see that the car service got paid, and the alcohol was paid for, and the yeah, and I'm like, what happened to the design?
Double standard.
Yeah.
Well, sorry to hear that. And you know, when my wife and I were planning our wedding, you know, we got some custom designed things for our wedding, and we actually, you know, we know a bunch of designers, but not other than you. And we couldn't even think twice of imposing. I mean, even if it was for pay, you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird relationship that you get into. You know, it's like one thing if I'm like, "Hey, John, make the logo for our podcast," or I went to my friend Chris and I was like, "Bro, can you take this template I have so that I can get Yanni put on my Street Fighter fighting stick?" I mean, those are two different scenarios, you know, but
two different scenarios.
Yeah. Compared to what you're talking about. So, you know, we went to Etsy and hired, you know, where designers were putting up their work. Are you there? I think I lost you. There you go. You're gone. Hi. Are you back?
I am. We're still broadcasting.
Okay, good. So anyway, as I was saying, you know, we went to Etsy and we found designers who, you know, were offering services, design wedding programs or table numbers or whatever we were looking for, you know, and we hired them through that. And it ended up being a great experience. You know, they got paid. You know, we were able to see the design work ahead of time based on portfolio or example jobs, and you know, very great experience. And I would strongly recommend anybody looking for design work, you know, if price is a problem or fees are a problem, you know, go to a marketplace where you know you're going to meet your budget. You know, maybe that's Etsy, maybe that's that website where you get stuff for $5. You know, maybe it's lemazny.com where he charges you $125 an hour. I don't know what
or trade
a week's worth of laundry for or I'll wash your dishes.
I will wash your dishes.
Yeah. So yeah, so like I said, you know, if you're looking for work, don't take advantage. No spec till I die. Yeah, don't be a cheapskate.
Volunteerhaters.org.
That's right. I'm gonna go get that domain right now.
All right, man.
All right. Well, it was good. Good talking to you. Good seeing you.
As always, we need
face to face. Yeah.
We need to work out a physical visit sometime soon.
Yes. Beginning of July would be good.
That sounds great. Are you going to any of the local July 4th events? You live right across the street from one of the best.
I know, but we can see it from my front yard. So
are you going to be in your front yard? Maybe I'll just stop by.
Maybe. I'll let you know.
All right.
But we should get together independent of that.
That sounds good.
All right.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks for another great episode.
And you as well. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.